Well, I wanted to tell you girls about a job that is out there. Now, I don't know if you know about this job. It might be a shock to you, but there are jobs available out in the world that you come to in the morning, Monday through Friday. You start about 9, you clock in, it's like you're here, you've arrived, you begin the clock, and then the day goes by, you get bathroom breaks, you get lunch breaks to eat food. Have you heard of that? Okay. And then at the end of the day, you're done. You clock out. You're through. Okay. You go home and guess what? You don't have to take any work with you. You're just like, and you're gone, right? Do you guys know about these jobs? Have you heard of these? They're right. They're out there. Maybe you were in one day at one time and you did your work and you took it home and you were done. But you know what? You didn't pick a job like that, did you? Because being a mom, sorry to say that, there's no time of clocking in and clocking out. If you want to go to the restroom, I remember dragging my baby in a bouncy chair. I don't know why. Like, where were they going to go? I don't know, but I would take them in with me. But then when they became toddlers, they would try to get in, right? I'm like, give me a minute. I'm just like, sitting for a second, and there it is, like, Mom, right? Or it's the middle of the night. You think your job is done. You've clocked out. You're sleeping. You need this sleep. And what happens? There's a baby crying. Someone has nightmares. There's an alligator coming up the stairs. That's a real nightmare my kids have had. No, there isn't, right? I mean, you just have this job being a mom where it is on and then it just is still on, right? You still are going even when you're cooking dinner and your hands are covered in chicken and you're cutting and you're like, and someone needs something. And it's like, have you been in that moment? It's like, do I wash my hands? Do I say, wait? Do I deal with this? It's like, I'm just trying to make you dinner and you have a need again. So I know you've picked jobs that are full-time, all the time, no clocking in, no clocking out. It's just all the way. But I know you picked it because it's so important, right? It's the best job in the world. It's so rewarding. It's wonderful. You get to see these chubby little babies making sounds that are so cute. You get to see them start talking and walking and putting on their own clothes, and then they're reading and writing, and then all of a sudden they're like, thinking about things deeper. And it's just amazing to see a human life go from a blob to a teenager to an adult. And so that is the job that you've picked. You clocked in whenever that baby came into this world, and you know what? You're not going to clock out for a while. So I want to encourage you today to look at your task, your job of motherhood, and to see a few changes maybe that you could make. I'm sure that you are doing a lot, and it feels like a lot. I'm sure that you're tired. But I do think if you can kind of step back and say, what are a few new habits that I need to include? What are a few course corrections that I can make that will last the lifetime? What are a couple of things that now that, I'm sitting here with a group of women whom I love, that I can figure out how to do this job of mothering just a little bit better. And I think that that's why you're here. I mean, you signed up for a ministry. You took the time to come here to learn about being a better mom, how to do it, what to do in these certain situations. And so I feel like I'm already talking to a room of ladies who are like, let's go. I'm ready for it. And so I'm excited to just dive in. We're going to talk about a couple of different topics. There's so much we could talk about when we're talking about loving our children well, but I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 different sections for you. And I just want to encourage you to really think and be open about how could I make a few course corrections in what I'm doing now in order to love my children better tomorrow and better the next month. Okay, so the first way that we're going to talk about this morning of how to love our kids is to love our kids by, and I know there's lots of places to fill in the blank, but we're going to love our kids by spending quality time with them. Quality time, intentional time with them. Love them by spending quality time with them. You can do this in so many ways, and you're probably already doing this, but I think about the car. Right? Sometimes we're in the car and driving, and I recently got asked by my 8-year-old why we don't have any fangs or venom or horns like animals, right? And I'm like, I've never thought of that. I don't know. It's a good question for God someday, right? We're in the car, we're bathing our kids, and they're asking us questions about life and talking about all kinds of things. When we feed them, right, we're sitting there with them. Sometimes they're chatting away, or at least if they're not talking yet, they're listening, right? Their ears are attentive. We do this. We have a lot of time spent with our kids. But I want it to be quality time, all right? And if you're thinking, well, my kid is, 4 months old. What do you mean by that? Or my baby is only very small right now. Let me just encourage you, even if you've got a small one, if you as a mom can start the habits now, it's going to be easier as they get older, right? We often say in motherhood, and I've said this, like, you know what, when they get older, I'll do that thing, right? When they grow up a little, I'll start that. I just start it now because you start to get in the habit. It's like training yourself, right? Like, okay, I'm going to talk to them about important things. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to focus on them. Might as well do that when they're 1 month old. And then when they're 1 year, it's a habit for you and for them. So the first sub-point under this is to have quality conversations. Quality conversations with your kids. Even if they're super young, we want to talk to them about things that matter. This is one of our important jobs. I will have to just say, we don't want to talk to them first about problems with their dad, right? They're little, they don't need to be involved in that, or problems with their grandma, mother-in-law, right? Father-in-law issues. These little ones are not our best friends. We're supposed to be teaching them. We're in that teaching and training role. So, you might think quality conversations, oh yeah, it's like I have my own little best friend to hang out with. But we sometimes need to be careful about what we think of when we think of quality conversations, because if we were to have a quality conversation, we might need to talk about some pretty intense subjects and go deep. But as we're training our little kids, we want to make sure we're not sharing more with them than they really need to know in those, little minds. They don't need to know that your husband was being unkind, right? We kind of need to protect them from those conversations. But we do have a lot of times that we can go deeper, we can talk about life, we can teach them about all kinds of stuff. One time, if you could just start the habit now, is when they're strapped into their car seat. Okay, you put them in the car seat, they can't go anywhere, right? And they don't want to go in there sometimes, I remember, they're arching their back, no, right? But when you're on a drive, let me just encourage you. I know you could put on a show. I'm not saying that's always wrong. I know you could play music or whatever, tune out. But if you could use that car time for good conversations, even if they're tiny, I remember praying out loud. And hey, you know what, Alyssa, I'm going to pray because mommy is needing to pray today. And I would pray out loud. I'm going to talk to you about, did you know that God created these trees as they're talking about things? I want to use that time. They're strapped in, they're listening. And I'm in the habit of doing it now. And so when our kids, 15, 13, 11, and 8, jump in the car, we often have these good, deep conversations because that habit has formed. So car time is great. Eating, when you're eating together. I don't know if you grew up in front of the TV. I have a friend who said every dinner they had the TV on the whole time. I'm like, what? My parents, they said, we're sitting together as much as possible, and we're looking at each other, and we're asking each other questions. And it was just like, how's your day? Okay, it's your turn. Let's talk about this, right? Even if they're little, that dinner time, you're going to eat a couple times a day, right? You're eating a couple times a day, right? Everyone, okay. You guys were like, no, I forgot breakfast. Good thing it's here. I get it, right? But when you sit down, having your children with you and having that be a time of conversation. Let's ask Dad about his day. Let's listen to Dad. There's so many things you can teach them even at that quality discussion time over meals. Another great place is when you have to correct them. This is not a super fun time. They're doing something wrong and you have to get them on the right path. More about that later, but that's a great time to have a little bit deeper conversation. Why is this important? Why can't we do this? What happens if we continue to do this, right? Our job of training, teaching them, we can have so many of these conversations just throughout our day, and if we can build the habit now, it does get easier and it becomes more common in our family culture. Well, the second way we can spend quality time with them is by reading to them, reading with them. So that's subpoint B, reading. Now, you might have already heard full teachings on this. People have brought this up, but when's the last time you read with your kids? Because I think sometimes we go, yeah, I need to read with them. I know that's good for their brain. I know that's good time. But weeks can go by before we do that. If you can start the habit of reading to them, getting them in your lap, reading aloud to them, these are going to be some great times of connection, talking about what you're reading, what they're learning. All the studies ever done about reading is that it's amazing for your children, for their brain, for their growth, for their understanding. So link that to something you already do. Do you already put them down for a nap? Read before the nap. Do you have breakfast together? Read at breakfast time. When can you get this reading in? Because we need to be doing this, not just putting our kids in front of a TV, which is easier, right? But we need to be reading with them and spending that quality time. Point C, we need to look at them. Look at them. Okay, mom, watch this. Right? We've all had that happen. But we want our kids to see our love for them because we focus on them. I know you have to clean that thing and organize it, or you want to organize it. The kids don't care if it's organized, right? But I know you want to do it, or you have to do laundry, of course, right? There's things we need to do. But as much as possible, if you want to build that loving relationship with your kids, when I can physically sometimes think about, okay, my child wants my attention, it's like, yes, and I get my eyeballs right on them. There are so many distractions in this world. There's so many things we could be doing. If we can get in the habit, I need to look at them, I need to focus on them, that communicates love. You've probably talked to somebody who is not looking at you. Are you ever just like, hello? Right? You want to be, right, I'm right here. You want that look and that attention. We want to do that for our kids too. And even when they're little, we want to get our eyes on them. D, subpoint D in this is to play. Play games, play with them. Now, of course, we all might think, yeah, I'm doing this, but this is so important for the relationship. This is so important to be down on the ground with them, building blocks, knocking them over, rebuilding it for the 28th time in a row, playing hide and go seek. Have you done that? I think they could do it all day. I think my kid could hide from me when they were little, all day. Just, it's like, I found you again. Okay, let's go again. Candyland. Oh, I remember playing Candyland, and it's a boring game. I don't like Candyland. Okay, I don't want to play, but they do. And the little one with the bucket and the things, and I know the chutes and ladders, that's like detrimental, right? If you go down that slide, it's like their world just ended, and right? But you have so much time to teach and instruct them right then. You gotta win sometimes when you play a game. You lost, buddy. That's good for them. You don't want the first time they lose to be in kindergarten and they're that one kid crying, right? Because they always won every game with you, right? So there's so much training, teaching that we have to do for them. We have to teach them so many things, right? And those play and those games, it's perfect for that. I know it takes work. I know it's boring. But it is intentional quality time with them. And they will remember that, and you will set the pattern of being with them, doing the things that they want to do and building that relationship. I want to give you a warning in this point, which is going to be in E, that we need to make sure if we're spending quality time that we remove distractions that might keep us from this. We need to be careful of the distractions. You probably know what it is for you. Even just saying that and writing it down, something might come to your mind. I know what comes to my mind, but it could be the TV. It could be the TV for your kids even. Like, we're in a habit of just, just go watch, That's what's going to teach you. That's what's going to entertain you. It could be the phone. Somehow time just goes. All of a sudden you're like, how long have I been on here? This can't be right. You get that alert about your screen time every week. Do you have that set? You should. It's really good because it's like, I wasn't on my phone that much. And then you're like, whoa, what? Right? So that could be the distraction. It could be cleaning. I mean, some people, you gotta clean, but some people, it's like, everything. And it's like, my husband walks in the door and I'm like, and he's like, oh, sweet. Like, is there something for dinner? Like the kids play, it's like, they don't care. The kids don't care usually. Of course, you don't need a pigsty, but I'm saying sometimes that could be for you a distraction. So what are the things that might keep you from spending quality time? It's a good question to ask. It's a good thing to think about, because if we can remove those things, we've just freed up time, right? We've just freed up time to do the things we know we should do and the things that we want to do. Okay, the second kind of zone of loving our kids is by teaching them about God. That's the second point, teaching them about God. Now, the first way we can do that is by bringing them to church. That would be subpoint A, church attendance, right? So bringing ourselves, we can learn about God, and bringing them to learn about God. I mean, it's just so important to see the value of coming with the body of Christ, coming together with women, and learning about God here. Even when it's hard to drop them off. So I have 4 kids and 4 different personalities, and I had one that walked herself into church. She loved it. She's like, "Bye, Mom." Hey, guys. She's like, these are my people. I had another child who completely made it difficult for months and months, because remember, I'm married to a pastor, so we're here like a couple of times a week, and we're not coming. We're pretty committed people when it comes to the church. And this sweet little boy, whom I love, he would physically grab onto my arm and not let go. So I'm standing there, to drop him off for church so that I can go learn, that he can learn. And he's just wild, right? I mean, everyone in the hallways is looking like, what's that woman doing to her child, I'm like, I love him, I promise. Everything's okay, And I remember removing his fingers from my arm. And it's like breaking my heart at the same time. It's very hard. This is not easy. Love is not easy, right? But the reason we committed to dropping him off was, let's start young. Let's get you in the classroom where you can be understanding at your level with people who love you, with friendships that you can make. And even though this is hard, and it went on for months and months and months. And I would claw him off. I had powwows with the teacher. I was like, this is going to be rough, right? She's like, yes. I'm like, are you in? She's like, I'm in. I'm like, okay. But we wanted to show our kids that it's important. And now I will just tell you, my 4 children long to be here. They want to be here. They value being here. And that's huge for them. They want to be at this place. So get them here as much as you can. And get yourself here too, right? The second subpoint is to get the Bible in our homes. We need to get the Bible inside of our homes, not just here at church. There's 1,000 ways to do it. You might be able to ask some of the ladies at your table of good books that talk about the Bible, good little Bibles, good study Bibles if they're older. There's stuff in the bookstore. You can listen to the Bible, put it on. I was going to say a CD again. Oh, I'm old. Okay, put it on your Spotify. Okay, and play it. You have it like there's children's stories. It's like interesting. The voices. Get the Bible on a drive. Talk about it. I mean, there's just a lot of ways we can put the Bible in our home. We can put Bible verses around. We had a little whiteboard when they were young. We would put a verse a week. Talk about it. Every breakfast, we would look at it, we'd color it, we'd highlight it. I mean, get the Bible inside your own home too, not just here when they're at church. The next subpoint is to talk about Jesus' love. Talk about Jesus and his love for you and his love for your children. And if you are not totally clear on what that means, you should probably start there. Let me just encourage you. Figure out what what is she talking about? Jesus' love. How would I define that? How would I describe that? What is she referring to? That would be the first step, because if we're going to teach our kids about the greatest love ever known, we need to make sure that we can understand it ourselves. But I did have, so we have these 4 kids. They've been coming to church many times a week my 15-year-old for 15 years. We've talked about Jesus. We've read about Jesus. She's been in different kids ministries. She's been in the programs where you come on the weekend, extra information about Jesus and God, right? She's been in all these things. And just recently, the other day, even though she's heard it, she said to me, as we were talking again about Jesus, but how do I know he really loves me? I mean, Mom, I don't do the right things. And it's like, whoa, we've been saying this over and over, and yet she's saying, how do I know? How could he really love me? And it was another opportunity to say it again to her. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you so much, Alyssa. That's my oldest. He loves you so much, and he showed it and proved it to you because of what we read in the Bible about his life and what he did. We can see in God's word that Jesus came to earth. He came here as God, and he came with a purpose to love the people that he created. He came so that he could live this life on this earth, unfortunately be mistreated, to have people make fun of him and mock him and humiliate him, even though he never did a single thing wrong in his life. He never sinned. He never disobeyed God. He was always respectful to his parents, right? He always said what was good. And yet he lived on this earth, and the people around him ended up hating him, mocking him, humiliating him. But he was willing to go through all of that and more. Right? And more. He was willing to be mocked and humiliated, but he was also willing to go to the cross. Jesus came to this earth in order to go to the cross. That was really his plan. He knew that this was the only way that you, Alyssa, could be made right with God. This is the only way that you could have the problem that you have, which is sin. You have this problem, and you see it, she sees it. This is the only way you could solve it. You aren't able to do it on your own. You're not able to fix it. You're not able to get right with God on your own, and yet Jesus came to solve that problem for you. And he willingly went to the cross, which is amazing. He went all the way up to going to the cross, to putting his life on the line, right? To giving up his life in order for you to be right with God. He shed his blood. He was mocked, humiliated, a crown of thorns. We see in God's word that not only was he physically tortured and killed, but God's wrath was put on him. So not only is he just suffering in his body so that you can be right with God, he didn't need to suffer at all. He shouldn't have suffered at all. He's perfect, the Son of God. But he suffered in his body so that you could be right with God. He was tortured, and he felt the wrath of God. He was separate. He felt this punishment for sin on him. So it was brutal. It was terrible. And what motivated him to do this? And it's the answer is his love. That's the proof of Jesus' love. That's the proof of God's love. He went to the cross. He was the only one who could pay this debt, this punishment of sin. And even though he didn't deserve it, he willingly took it on. That you might be in a relationship with God, that your sins might be forgiven, and that you might be made right with a perfect and holy God. It's amazing. That's an amazing truth. That's the greatest love that we will ever see and know and hear about it. It's completely sacrificial, done for her good, done for my good. It's completely giving up what he might want or desire. I mean, he might want fame or whatever. I mean, what did he deserve on earth? People should have worshiped him. It was perfect. He healed people, right? And he said, I'm going to lay down my life for you. If we don't know about his love, the first place is to learn about it, to read about it, to ask someone about it, to figure out what this whole means. That way we can share it with our kids, because this is the thing that they need the most. They need to know that they can be safe with God because of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. And that's the only way that they can be right with him. So if that is something that's not in your words, in your thinking, even when they're little, right? We sometimes sing the songs, yes, Jesus. Yeah, you know that one, right? We already begin talking about Jesus' love. But what a great way to pass on to our children. The one way to be right with God is through Jesus' sacrifice. They need to know that, and they need to hear it from us. Well, our third way that we can help instruct our kids and love them throughout their lifetime is by, point 3, being in charge, being the authority. Being in charge. And this might be one of the hardest things to do because it requires quite a bit of work on your part. It is easier for them to call the shots. It's just true. It feels easier, at least at the moment, right? Let's get going. It's time to go. Have you seen this at the park? Have you been at parks lately? Okay. I'm just going to tell you what happens here. So I'm at parks with the kids sometimes, and, the parents are supposed to be in charge. The Bible is clear about that. They're the authority, and the children are supposed to obey. We are quite a bit older. We know a little bit more, right, than them. We've lived a little more life. We can see a bigger picture. We don't have such narrow. There's a lot of reasons, but the main reason is that the Bible calls us to be in charge. But we're here at a park, and we see this happen quite a bit. Would you like to get going? What's the kids say? No. No, I'm having a great time. I don't want to go. Okay, well, we'll just, it's like, okay, Johnny, you want to get going now? Nope, no thanks. Runs off, It's like the parent is like asking permission. Are you in charge or is he in charge? All right, then we start, let's try some other tactics, right? I think if I mention a cookie at home, that could get them, right? Johnny, if we go now, we get cookies at home. So you see Johnny, right? Like, do I get more park time? Do I get a cookie? Nah. Right? He's like, I probably could get a cookie anyways at home, right? So he's smart. They're smart. They know. Oh, they are so smart, right? So we start the bribing, right? Okay, well, that doesn't work. What else? I don't know. The anger, the threats. You have to go now. Come on, please. The begging. Oh, have you seen parents beg? And this is about the time when I'm like, all right, put me in, okay? I just like, I've got this, okay? Johnny, you're going home right now, and you need to listen to your mom. I went with the eyes and then the chin down. That always helps, right? And it's like it's killing me inside. And actually, it's really not funny. But my kids are like, Mom, that Johnny is not obeying. I'm like, I know. It bothers my children. Because in our home, not perfectly. Watch, tomorrow you're going to see one of my kids disobey me and be like, right? Not perfectly, but I'm the authority. My husband and I are the authority in our home. We set the plans. We make the decisions. We tell the children what they're going to do, and their job is to obey us. And, if you're not that authority, that's what our first subpoint A says. If you're not the authority, that's something that you could work on right now. Something to shift around and change. It's hard work to say, this is what we're doing, and then to follow up if they don't listen, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it. We want to teach our children that there is an authority and that they need to follow them. There will be, I remind my kids this, there will be authorities in their life the rest of their lives. They will have an RA in college. They will have a boss. They will have a police officer who is an authority. They will have the list goes on, right? They're going to have authorities, and they need to learn that you're the authority and you need to see yourself as the authority, which is hard because we can easily kind of sneak into some of these other ways of trying to get our kids to do what we want. And let me just tell you, start this moment today when you see your kids. If this is not a pattern, the earlier we start, the better. It is very tough to start with an 8-year-old and say, okay, well, you haven't really been obeying. I'm ready. I mean, it can be done. If you're there, it can be done. But it is so much easier when they are 1 year old, 9 months old, whatever. When they are little to say, no, we're not dropping our food over the side. And they do it, and you say, don't do that. Mommy said no, you can't drop your food. And right? I mean, that is what we want to establish. And it's hard work. I know it's hard work, but you can do it. You can make those changes and adjustments, and you have people around you to help you with that. Subpoint B is that children are not the authority. Children are not the authority. They will be bossy. They will be lacking respect if they become the authority. They will be out of control. They will battle you. They will do all kinds of things. I have 4 different personalities, and some of them just try the straight up no to be in charge. You know, some of them try anger. They get mad. That's how they're going to try to battle. Some of them cry. Mom. You know, and I'm like, still no, right? It's like, you got to stay firm. Some of them try, okay, the sweet ones, right? They try the eyes. Have you seen the eyes? Mommy, you know, you're just like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're manipulating me. You're trying to get your way. You're trying to work the system. They might use all kinds of silent treatment. I hate you. I'll hit you. I'll bite you. It's kind of wild what comes out of them, but it's true that they will try different things. They are not the authority, and that's something you have to just tell them. I will say, Mommy and Daddy are in charge, and you are not. I am in charge. I will say that to them repeatedly, even at 15 years old. Alyssa, I love you, but you're not in charge here. And she's like, I know, I really want to be, is where she's at in life as a teen. I get it. So children are not, and we need to just keep that in our minds, even when it's tough. Okay, point C is kind of how we can do this, how we can establish this authority, being in charge, is by establishing rules and consequences. We need to establish rules and consequences in our home. That is going to help us be the authority. We know this. We know that when there's rules, it gives parameters, it gives direction. And let me just encourage you, if you don't have rules right now in your life, kind of mapped out, sit down with your husband. What a great thing after the kids are in bed tonight. Sit down with him, sit down with a man there and say, what are our rules? Let's write them out. Let's figure out in our household, in the Kelly household, what are the rules going to be? Work with them and put it up on that fridge, right? Put it up somewhere. You can make it cute if you're cutesy. Okay, you can do doodads and dilly-dollies, okay? But what we want those rules up there as a way to just say, this is what our family is doing, right? We say our family, we have self-control in our family. We're respectful. We're responsible. We have these rules established that our kids are used to hearing. We can bring things back to this because this is what we've decided between my husband and I on what we're aiming for, and that helps them to know. It's really hard and frustrating if you're a kid and the rules are changing, right? It's like one day you can do this all crazy, and the next day mom's like tired, and so she's snappy. It's like, I can't get and dad says it's okay, but then mom's around, it's like, no, I can't, right? We need to have consistency as much as possible because that helps them to stay within the guardrails that we've set. And then we need some consequences. I don't know what consequences you might have set up, but we know as people, as adults, that consequences happen in life. I forgot to pay my Kohl's card, okay? It's not on auto pay. Every other card is on auto pay. And guess what? There's a consequence. There's like a $30 charge, right? Oh, right? That's a consequence. And guess what? That's going to help me remember next time to pay. I actually already called. I'm on auto pay now, people. You don't have to worry. I know. Actually, it's kind of funny because this is totally random, but my husband's the one who's the card holder. I don't know how that happened. I don't think he's ever been in a Kohl's in his life. So somehow we put it in his name. So I call and I'm trying to get on auto pay and they're like, you're not the primary card holder. I'm like, oh, so he has to call. He's like, do I even have a Kohl's card? It was pretty fun, right? Right, but again, we're on auto pay now. We figured it out. But you guys know this. There are consequences in life, and those harmful things, those painful things, that extra money I have to spend, it helps me to make a better decision next time. So if we don't have consequences laid out, and we would talk with our kids, if you do these things, if you break these rules, here are the consequences. So it was black and white for them to see. And I would often sometimes say, are you gonna make this choice? If you choose this, you're getting a consequence. You're choosing a consequence. We've already established the rules. It's been clearly communicated. So if you choose to disobey mom, you're choosing a consequence. It's not, we've already set it up, okay? And so think through that, right? What are the consequences in my home? If they disobey, if they don't listen, if they're disrespectful, if they are rolling around on the ground in Target because they want that toy, what am I gonna do? Because if we can have a plan before we're there, we at least have something in our mind to go to. And I know this is tough. I know this is the hard work of loving your kids. No one likes to give consequences. I don't like to do it. It's hard. It's hard to say, oh, well, now you don't get a treat tonight. You chose that. Well, I love brownies, and it's like, you don't get a brownie. That was your choice, right? It's hard, these things that show our kids that we kind of mean what we say and we're the authority, but it also is the best thing for them. Imagine if, this helps me a lot when I've had that moment of I don't really want to deal with this, which we all have. Imagine if I leave this be for the rest of his life or her life. What will this turn into? If he lacks self-control now, when he's 16 driving a car without self-control, when he's off at college without self-control. So we want these consequences when they're young to get them on that correct path. And that will help them to make good choices. That will help to keep you as the authority, even when it's tough. And you know what? Unfortunately, we see poor examples of this all around our world. There was just a kid at my house playing with one of my son, my youngest, and the dad shows up. He says it's time to go. We were there for 20 minutes trying to get the kid out of our house. He's 8 years old, hiding, yelling no, running away. I don't think I'm inviting this kid back. Let's just be real, right? I was like, I don't know about him, Aaron, right? He's literally, the dad has no authority, right? And so we just see this is a problem. And even my own 8-year-old boy, who has a lot of things he's still learning and working on, he's like, I don't know about him. Why isn't he listening to his dad? I was like, yes. He was bothered by the fact that this kid is not listening to the authority. So we need to start now. It's tough. I know there's bad examples. I know it's hard work, but this is the love that we signed up for. When we said, I'm going to bring a child into the world, I'm going to be a mom, I am going to give myself to some of these difficult things because I want what's best for them. So I hope today you guys have great discussions. You have great leaders that can help direct you, give you ideas, to share ways to do this. And I just want to encourage you, if you are not, doing some of these things, pick one or two to make that adjustment now, because it will reap dividends for the future, right? If you make those adjustments when they're young or today, no matter how old they are, you will see that it allows for good things unfolding in the future. So thank you guys so much for having me this morning. I hope you guys have great discussions.